Tucker. Oh, now I can hear you on this. Did you just do something?
I think we're live.
Oh, we're live. Perfect.
Are we live,
Let's
Hurley?
go. We could be live. It's fine.
Oh, we're live. Okay.
We're live.
All right, everybody, welcome to a very special edition of the Better-in-Laws podcast. I'm Tuck Silva, joined alongside brother-in-law Matt Prisco, ahead of a Celtics opener.
Love it.
And we're at the TD Garden Card Vault Studios here, presented by Big Night Media, Big Night Live. How the hell are we, Matt? We're going to the Celtics tonight.
Love and life, babe. Did the podcast on Wednesday, 2-0 last night on Twitter. Free picks.
Very good. Very good.
Let's go.
Good,
Keep it
good,
hot.
solid run there for the boys.
Keep it hot.
If you're listening for the first time, please follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter at Better-in-Laws. And if you're watching live right now on YouTube, then you clearly already follow us.
Yep.
So thank you. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to us on YouTube, Better-in-Laws. We are a relatively new podcast, but
Yes.
Matt, what percentage are we hitting so far in terms of NFL gambling?
For the full season, Tuck,
Yeah.
58.7%. So we're hitting
Okay.
59%. Over the last 3 weeks, we're at 70% due to your hot streak of hitting 80% over the last 4
Yep.
weeks.
16-4 over the past 4 weeks.
Hot.
4 straight 4-1 weeks. Looking to keep that going here. But we're doing this special edition of the podcast. We're probably going to be doing more of these going forward.
Yeah.
To number one, get foot traffic for
What's
the TD
better than
Garden
this,
here.
huh? What's
we're
better
in a
than this?
fishbowl studio. There's people walking into the TD Garden. I see a couple dogs right there looking
Yep.
mighty
Woof.
cute
Woof, woof.
right now.
Woof.
And we're going to do a daily fantasy podcast here.
Yep.
It's going to range anywhere between 30, 45 minutes, somewhere in that range.
Love it.
So without further ado, let's get right into it. And just so everybody is aware, Matt and I do not use FanDuel for daily fantasy. We prefer DraftKings.
Yes.
So we'll be referring to the DraftKings salaries here going forward. So we're going to run through each position, and then at the end of the podcast, we're going to create a lineup for you, probably a cash lineup, I'd say, right?
Yep.
As
That
opposed
works.
to a tournament
yeah,
one.
I think that's right.
And then Matt is actually going to have a couple of college bets for Saturday's slate that he's really excited about because I know absolutely nothing about college football. So that's your guy over there.
Love it.
For college here. But in the meantime, like I said, we're going to get started with daily fantasy here. So let's get right after it here, Matthew. Let's start at the quarterback position.
Yes.
Among the highest salaried players here, we have Patrick Mahomes at 8,400, Jalen Hurts at 8,200, Lamar Jackson at 8,100, and the lower rung, we have the likes of Joe Burrow at 6,000, Derek Carr 5,500, Gardner Minshew 5,400, so on and so forth. Let me get your reaction to this.
Yes.
I have projected ownership rates
Yes.
or percentages here. Take one guess as to who is the number one owned fantasy quarterback.
If I was to guess this, Tuck, I think, love this guy knocking on the glass, by the way, Danielle Jones. Miss Boston right
Listen,
there.
stay focused.
Sorry.
Stay focused.
Stay focused. Let's go with Tua Tagovailoa as my guess.
That would be incorrect.
Ooh.
The highest owned,
Who?
and I'm surprised you're not, I'm a little surprised you didn't guess this one. Lamar Jackson at 11%.
I did bet them.
8,100 for salary here.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
a good bet. I get that.
Guess
That makes
who-
sense.
Guess who number 2 is for highest projected ownership?
I'm going to look through the list real quick, Tuck, and let me just take
You're
a
not
quick
gonna
look.
find him
Is
because
it
his
lower?
name-
Sam Darnold.
Is Sam Darnold.
It's a great
at
ownership
4,300.
if he plays.
So, okay, so the latest on Brock Purdy. Give me the latest on Brock Purdy.
The latest
because
on Brock Purdy is
did
that
suffer a
he
concussion
is-
ahead of our podcast recording on Wednesday, where we
Yes.
gave out the 49ers 5.5 and the over on that one as well. So, little asterisk there with that pick.
Yes.
So, what is the latest on Brock Purdy?
The latest on Brock Purdy is that he's officially questionable, though he has been practicing the last 2 days.
With a concussion.
With a concussion. He had a
Yeah.
concussion. So just to back up the story a little bit, he had a little concussion, Monday Night Football, which makes it tough to play the next Sunday, right?
Sure. Yeah, you gotta
especially
go
when
through
he
all the steps and the protocol. Yep.
Exactly, especially when you didn't come out of the game. So what happened with Purdy, for those that don't know, he started experiencing symptoms on the plane ride home from Minnesota.
Sure.
Kyle Shanahan updated Wednesday. They had Tuesday off. Wednesday, right after we finished the podcast, we're driving home. Both of us had a side. Go check that out. I still like it. On the Niners and the total. So we're there, and then all of a sudden, Brock Purdy had a concussion.
Yeah.
He has to get through the protocol.
Okay, what's Friday's report, though?
Friday's report, though, is that he's questionable. I don't have anything else really other than that. I'm looking in.
Isn't that kind of encouraging, though, that he's questionable?
Yes and no, because and this is where I was going with this. So the NFL has this protocol that you have to get through these 5 or 6 steps that in order to play.
Yep.
So because it's a short week, it actually makes it harder for him to become eligible because there's time involved in it.
So all indications are that Sam Darnold's going to be the starter on Sunday.
That's the case. However, as of tonight, and I just got a notification a couple minutes ago, and I follow this very closely, obviously being a 49er fan.
Sure.
He practiced today. Fred Warner's thinking this is a positive sign. Players are starting to think it's a positive sign. That said, he's practiced the second straight day, and barring a setback from Matt Barrows, 49ers beat writer, on pace to be cleared from concussion protocol tomorrow.
Okay.
That said, not 100%, but on pace to do
Let's
so.
operate under the impression
Purdy's going to play.
No, that Sam Darnold's going to play. Let's operate under that.
Okay.
What do you think that Sam Darnold can do? Can he be successful in this Kyle Shanahan offense with all of these weapons? Because I think he could be. I think he could be a very sneaky play at 4,300 and be a tremendous salary saver for a lot of people.
The answer to this is yes. So I'm going to tell you something right now. I texted you right after this that Purdy was in concussion protocol. I can't believe you had given out the pick of the 49ers minus 5.5 on the show prior to the Brock Purdy news, right? I gave out the over on the show. Now, both of those are like, uh-oh, here comes Sam Darnold. You know what? I actually still like it. I still like it with Sam Darnold.
How much has that total moved?
2 points. I saw it go down to 42.5 and then went back up to 43 super quick.
Okay, so that's not as bad as I thought.
I didn't check it, but it's starting to trickle up. The spread's starting to trickle up. I buried the 49ers. They were not a pick for me. I buried the 49ers, not as a fan, but as a gambler, at -3 when it got there. And I love that with Sam Darnold, with the expectation that Sam Darnold plays. I don't think there's a huge drop-off here. Listen, here's the thing about Sam Darnold. I've always said this. He was the number 3 pick overall for a reason. He's been in some shitty coaching situations as far as the Jets and Carolina, etc. Now he gets Kyle Shanahan. In the preseason, they were in love with him to the point where they traded a guy that they drafted 3 overall for a 4th-round pick.
Right. I
think they have superb confidence in Darnold if he needs to play in this game. I think if we're going to operate that Darnold's going to play, I think that we're okay with it. And I like him as a sneaky DraftKings play. I think if he gets to like 18, 20, that's a high, but for the price.
Well, I think it's very attractive at 4,300, considering the weapons that we have. Because like we all make fun of Sam Darnold and how he's seeing ghosts and everything like that. But if you go back and look at his weapons, it's been pretty garbage, honestly, for the most part. So you add in the fact that you have Kyle Shanahan, like, I think he can have a respectable game. Like, if he throws for like 250 with 2 touchdowns at 4,300, I think that really pays dividends.
Like I said, I like the over. That's part of Darnold producing.
And that's why he's number 2 in terms of ownership projections. Number 3 is Patrick Mahomes. No shock there. Very expensive price tag. Looks like it's going to be snowing in Denver.
In the snow. That's interesting.
Dak Prescott was a little surprising, right around 9% as well. Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts. And then right after this, right at 5% projected ownership, I want to get your take on this game overall. C.J. Stroud. You got the Texans and the Panthers, both, not good teams. Panthers more so, not a good team. Both coming off a bye, but this is the battle of the number 1, number 2 picks. So there's a lot of different storylines that you can target here. You have C.J. Stroud, who's like, oh, F you. You didn't take me number 1 overall. But then you also have Bryce Young, who's just like, I'm going to go out and prove why I'm the number 1 pick. And how, you have this new offensive coordinator coming in with Thomas O'Brien. 36-year-old offensive coordinator is going to be handed the play sheet from Frank Wright. So I think that's an interesting element to this. So what is your approach to this game? Do you have any interest in C.J. Stroud? And do you have any GPP interest potentially in Bryce Young? Because I have some interest in Bryce Young in tournaments.
I think the Panthers win this game. In fact, I think there's two different scenarios that you're seeing when you go into bye weeks. The Cincinnati Bengals, we talked about this on the podcast. No team needed a bye week more than the Cincinnati Bengals. On the flip side, you have the Houston Texans. And the bye week actually slows down some momentum that you're building. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I think Carolina 0-6 has the time to adjust, new offensive coordinator. I'm not as high on the Texans this week from a gambling perspective or fantasy perspective. I think that Bryce Young's a nice play. What's his price on this? I didn't see that.
Bryce Young, I believe, is 5,100, which is very attractive to me.
Okay, yep.
And I might add, C.J. Stroud, you would think you'd be in the 5,000s, right? He's 6,300.
Too much.
He is above Trevor Lawrence. No. He's above Dak Prescott. He's above Joe Burrow.
Yeah, no.
That's too much to me.
No.
That's buying into the playing a garbage team thing.
Yep.
Which he very well might go out and throw 3 touchdowns. But it's 6,300. I also find that attractive.
I also can't see it. Carolina, better home team. They lost to the Vikings by 8, but don't forget, they were winning that game late in the third quarter, early fourth. They blew that late. They also lost on Monday Night Football to the Saints by a couple of points at home. This is their third home game. I think the Carolina Panthers get it done in a lower scoring game. Tuck, stay away from C.J. Stroud today.
Yeah, I mean, he's a better cash game play if you ask me, but in GPP, I'd much rather play Bryce Young with the hopes that, number one, he's going to have 2% ownership, maybe less.
Yeah.
And, you're rolling the dice on the offensive coordinator. Yeah, it's a roll of the dice, but that's how you make money in GPP.
That's right.
All right, let's move ahead to running back here. Christian McCaffrey. I'm sorry, that's a set it and forget it guy.
You got to do it.
9,200 salary. You potentially don't have Brock Purdy. You know Deebo Samuel heading into the bye week, so that's going to be a factor, obviously. In Cincinnati, they're ranked 18th against opposing running backs. He's the most expensive there. And in terms of ownership, we are seeing Alvin Kamara at 21% projected ownership as the highest there on the slate. Tony Pollard at number 2 at 20%, which I think is a little surprising to me. Number 3, Breece Hall.
Interesting.
Home versus or away, technically. It's the New York matchup with the Jets and the Giants, so there's no home away thing here.
Yeah.
5,500. It's more so because of his price tag. So what's your approach to running back this week? Because for me, Christian McCaffrey's in all my lineups this week, but how else do you get relief in your lineup?
I'm actually spending heavily on running back this week. I'm going to reduce the cost in both quarterback and receiver to even that out, Tuck. So McCaffrey is an absolute play. Cincinnati giving up 173 yards a game rushing on the road this season. And good luck, because you haven't even played a run game that is San Francisco's. I think McCaffrey has a blow-up spot, not to even get into the fact of how he is an elite pass catcher out of the backfield there.
Seems completely healthy.
And by the way, if Sam Darnold's playing, even better, check off city, where Purdy might go downfield a little bit more than I think Darnold will. It depends. I still think Purdy. I'm leaning towards Purdy playing after today's news, but even
I still think Darnold plays.
It doesn't even matter.
Whatever.
To me.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter from McCaffrey's standpoint. I think he's a set it, forget it. You figure it out around Christian McCaffrey. You set your lineup around him because somebody else is going to play him, and you're not going to win.
A couple other mid-tier guys that I find very attractive. I still like Jonathan Taylor at 6,200. He's getting more ramped up going forward. And I know it's a tough matchup with the Saints defense. They are third against opposing running backs, but I think he is really matchup proof.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody kind of forgets that he was the number 1 overall pick last year in a lot of fantasy drafts. Breece Hall, 5,900. Gus Edwards at 5,500 on the road in Arizona. But my only hesitation with that is just the whole rotisserie between he and Justice Hill. The one guy that I find very attractive in this price range, and I bet you can get this, Ramondre Stevenson at 5,400.
Let's talk about that.
I said it earlier that 9.5 points against the Dolphins is a little too much in favor of the Dolphins. I think the Pats can easily cover that. And I like what I've been seeing out of Ramondre the past couple of weeks. And I think a huge step is, I mentioned in the podcast on Wednesday, go check it out. The Patriots seem to have figured out their offensive line by moving Michael Onwenu to the right tackle. And they looked like a functioning offense finally. And that obviously benefits Ramondre Stevenson. So, I mean, this is a guy that we've seen, pushing 7,000 in the past, been pretty cold, prior, but with this past couple of weeks, you've seen 18 points and 14 points.
Yep.
And he has 11 catches in his past 2 weeks as well. So I like that element as well, both in terms of competing, number one, and even if the game does get out of hand, they're going to be playing from behind and probably checking it down to Ramondre Stevenson there. So I think he could be pushing 20 points in this matchup.
Yeah, a guy I like that's relatively cheap in regards to DraftKings. I like Isaiah Pacheco at 6,100. I know Denver is one of the worst defenses that we've seen this year, especially rushing.
Dead last.
And there you go. So, and on top of that, I think he's going to be a little weapon out of the backfield a little bit more than usual. I know they usually use Jerick McKinnon, but you see McKinnon's usage come down. Pacheco is the guy there. I know they rotate backs, but Pacheco is definitely the guy. I think he gets in for a score, possibly 2, and catches an extra few passes with the bad weather in this game.
So a couple weeks ago in Week 6 when Pacheco faced the Broncos on Thursday Night Football, I thought that the Chiefs' offense was just still mightily struggling. Back then, like they have all year, but it seems like they finally took a step in the right direction versus the Chargers last week. But when Pacheco faced the Broncos, he had 16 carries, 62 yards, 6 catches, 36 yards, 16 fantasy points, just below that, no touchdowns. So, yeah, I'd say he's due for a touchdown
I think so.
versus the Broncos
It's
here.
happening.
So that's another solid value there. Any other like really cheap plays that interest you?
Yeah, just taking a quick
I'm
look.
not seeing much that really pops off here. Like you have Chuba Hubbard at 4,800. I think,
but I think Sanders back. I don't. You think he mixes
so
up?
They pretty much indicated that it's going to be a split committee there.
Should be.
So I'm all about volume.
Yep.
With all of this, so
Same.
I mean, if you really wanted to like spend at other positions, you wanted to take a dart throw for Chuba Hubbard. It's not the worst thing.
The dart throw for me, Tuck's 4,800 with Darrell Henderson in the Rams in Cowboys game. The Dallas 15th
He had
against
18
the run,
carries last week,
and he's going to be back. I think people are getting tricked by this. If you look at the news, the updates from like the Roto Worlds, the Yahoo that's tied into Roto World, it's like, oh, he's back to the practice squad. I think that's confusing people. That's just a procedural move because he was on the practice squad before they were activated for Sunday's game.
It's literally a business.
He is the starting running back for Sunday.
Yep.
And I'll be honest with you, even from a gambling perspective, the props perspectives, I think there's a chance this guy goes for 90-plus yards and a touchdown on Sunday. I might be wrong, but I do think I'm actually high on Darrell Henderson. 4,800 is a steal, in my opinion, at that price.
All right, let's move ahead to wide receiver here. This one actually surprises me.
Okay.
Highest projected wide receiver, and you might think this sounds silly, is Tyreek Hill at 21%. Now, why do I think that surprises me? Well, I mean, Belichick and the Patriots defense has kind of tamed Tyreek Hill the past couple of years, really, with the Dolphins. And even with the Chiefs going back in the day, with the Jonathan Jones has been tremendous. And Jonathan Jones, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you remember this. I don't know it offhand, but he didn't play in week 2 versus the Dolphins. I don't think, unless, I don't know, whatever it was. They held Tyreek to 40 yards and a touchdown, which is almost impossible nowadays since Tyreek Hill is clearly the best wide receiver on the planet.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, he's the most expensive guy on the slate at 9,500. But the ownership is a little high for me, given the price tag and the matchup there. What do you think?
I agree. I would not play Tyreek Hill this week. No, he has not had good numbers against Bill Belichick. We know what the Patriots do. Well, okay, we're local Boston guys, so if you're listening outside of Boston, bear with us on that. But here's the deal. Bill Belichick, his defense for years has decided take away one guy on the defense, or the opposing offense. And with Miami, that's Tyreek Hill. Now, is he going to slow him down 100%? Absolutely not. But are we looking at like a 4 or 5 catch game for 65, 70 yards, no touchdowns? Possibly. And at that price at 9,500, that's not what you're paying for, right? So I'm totally off Tyreek this way. Not a chance I'm playing him at that price tag.
Second highest projected wide receiver here is Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers at 5,600. Favorable matchup versus the Cardinals. Jamar Chase, 17%. That surprises me a little bit there. His price tag is 8,100. I got to say, I am stunned we're not seeing A.J. Brown here. He's seeing 9% projected ownership. A.J. Brown,
jeez.
I mean, you're playing a crap Commanders team. And A.J. Brown has 17 catches over this past 2 games with a touchdown, over 160, or no, excuse me, he has 168 yards receiving. And the last time that he faced the Commanders, 9 catches, 175 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
I was going to say, it was his breaking out party. And I know that specifically because we're in a fantasy league where I traded him to you. And I understand how bad that Sunday hurt me when I was watching that game. So if you want to be very clear, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember every catch that he made.
Yeah, that looks like a hunting trade to you.
Yeah,
But
cool trade. Anyways, we're not going to talk about the details of that. We're here for Daily Fantasy. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
AJ, that's actually stunning. 8%, you said?
8.9%.
May I ask you an ownership percentage on someone? I'm curious about Jordan Addison at 5,700 because I watched him on Monday Night Football, which I figured a lot of people would, Tuck. And at 5,700, it's kind of hard for me to believe that he's not in the top 5 to 10
So Jordan
receivers.
Addison's right around 12%.
Okay, I was going to say, okay. So does that give you like top 5, 10? What are we talking like
He
percentage-wise?
is top 7.
Top 7, okay. That makes sense.
No, excuse me. 7. Yeah.
That makes sense because his price tag's
Let me just run through it. real
Fortunate
quick.
to Zay
Tyreek
Flowers.
1, Zay 2, Jamar 3, Adam Thielen 4, which is a
he's
little
been hot.
iffy because I want to see how that plays out with the new offensive calling there.
I think it's better. I do.
I don't know. We'll see. Either way,
What's
there's
his
a
price
change there.
tag? Do we know? We have that.
Adam
handle?
Thielen is 6,600.
6,600,
Yeah.
okay.
Ayuk is 5. Kendrick Bourne at 4,700 is 6, and Jordan Addison 7.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And Tuck, just to be clear, why are we giving the projected ownership for the people?
Just to kind of
Because it does
gauge-
matter. It does matter.
Yeah, I mean, if you're creating a cash lineup, it's a good gauge as to where you can kind of see where the true value is.
Yep.
And if you're playing a tournament, you can kind of see like, okay, what is being too chalky here, and where can I maybe take an advantage? So an example is, just looking at the
Tyreek Hill.
Let's say that exactly Tyreek Hill. Everybody knows that Jalen Waddle was banged up last week. So with that being said, Jalen Waddle is still questionable, but it seems like he is going to play. So if you wanted to pivot and go to a single-digit ownership with Jalen Waddle, then you want to know that.
That's the move.
That's an interesting
better
contrarian
play.
Another guy who's been ice cold is Devonta Smith. I think he could certainly have a breakout game for the Eagles. Been struggling over the past couple of weeks. So you think that 9% ownership is going to be on A.J. Brown. And I'm not seeing Devonta Smith for a while here. I keep scrolling. I don't see Devonta Smith popping up on the ownership. But he's going to be below 5%, it looks like.
Jeez.
Which is crazy. So that's another interesting GPP play there. One guy who I think is way too cheap still, what's his name? Josh Downs, who clearly has chemistry with Gardner Minshew, and he seems like a total PPR stud.
Yep.
He and Minshew have just been truly connected there, and the fact that he's still sub 500 is
crazy.
I got to take advantage of that.
Yeah, he's
Absolutely
been a
gotta take
Minshew guy.
advantage of
He's
that.
been a Minshew guy for sure.
Rasheed Rice is another guy at 5,002. He's seeing more and more favorable targets from Mahomes there.
There's
Is
one
emerging.
guy, and there's one guy that I want to throw out, a little bit of a homer pick here, but Juwan Jennings at 3,800 is the Deebo Samuel backfill for
but
the Niners.
He didn't do anything.
He did, though. He didn't
the
score.
Vikings game.
He didn't score, but there was a lot of targets. I
How
think he
many
had like
targets?
7 targets on the other night.
Okay, well, that's not terrible.
It's not terrible. And, like, at that point where Cincinnati, I think, like, I hear you say Ayuk's, like, was he 5th on the list in ownership? That makes sense to me where people are thinking, like, oh, Debo's out. We got to play Ayuk. And do you think that the Bengals don't know that? Do you think that the Vikings didn't know that? And, I think Ayuk had a nice first half, but you saw some adjustments on him in the second half where I think from a passing game, you started to actually see down the field in the second half more specifically, Juwan Jennings became a target, Ray McLeod became a target, and McCaffrey became a target because Minnesota's like, we need to do whatever we can to take Ayuk and Kittle out of the game. I think Cincinnati's going to try to take a similar game plan. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to run to the table to get Juwan Jennings into your lineup.
Yeah, it's a good dart
but
throw.
if you're looking for a long shot play, it's the last position here, and you're under 4,000. Take a shot with Juwan Jennings. I think he has a real chance to get in the end zone this week.
One other cheap wideout that I'm targeting, especially for cash lineup, is Tank Dell for the Texans.
Yes.
Circling back to that matchup, I think this is going to be a higher scoring game. I think this could be sneaky shootout potential, honestly.
Okay.
Tank Dell at 4,900. He is expected back after missing week 6 with a concussion. And yeah, he's been a very valuable rookie wideout for the Texans there. I think he should be definitely pushing 5,500, somewhere in that range. So I think he's a bargain.
Yep.
At 4,900, mentioned Kendrick Bourne of the Patriots. He's at 4,700. He is the number 1 wideout for the Patriots right now because Juju Smith-Schuster is garbage.
Yep.
Any interest in a run back of Curtis Samuel here at 4,200? Who's actually been a pretty interesting wide receiver for the Commanders there. If you want to do like a Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown stack, you want to run it back in garbage time, Curtis Samuel isn't a bad option there.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair, Tuck. I would just say keep an eye. He's questionable on the injury reports.
Yep.
Just something
Keep
to
an eye
watch
out for
out
that.
for.
Yep.
A guy that I like slightly more than Samuel, because I do agree. I think he's a nice play, but another guy. Keep an eye on the Tyler Lockett injury, and you get Jackson Smith and Jigber at 4,300. He's questionable. Lockett's questionable.
Scored his first NFL touchdown last week. Looked good.
And he's going to get better and better as they go. So I'd keep an eye on that.
Honestly, if I'm the Seahawks, I'd just sit Tyler Lockett.
Probably.
Like, if he's banged up, give him a vet.
I know
vet
they're
day.
playing. Well, they're playing Cleveland, so I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm a little afraid of the price."
Yeah,
and
but, like
someone's got to do something.
But like, they're in a good position, so you want to get them nice and healthy, like all your vets. Get them healthy, and this very well could be just a factor of just resting your vets or whatever. But if you wanted to sit them out a game in a weird interconference game, like how often do we see the Seahawks and Browns play each other?
Not often.
Just sit them out. You'll be
4
fine.
years.
You can manage with DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba. And maybe Kenneth Walker popped up on the injury report as well. Just want to note that as well. Let's move ahead to tight end here. No shock, but Travis Kelce facing the last place ranked Denver Broncos with a price tag of 8,400 here.
Okay.
He is seeing the highest projected ownership. No shock there. Let me just pull it up real quick. Actually, excuse me. TJ Hawkinson and Travis Kelce are tied at 15% projected ownership. TJ Hawkinson is 6,200. Travis Kelce at 8,400. I think the Hawkinson one is a little interesting going on the road in Lambeau Field, don't you think?
Yeah, a little bit.
I know there's no Justin Jefferson there, and he was a target monster versus the 49ers there. I mean, he was a complete pest. Number 3, Jake Ferguson at 13%. Trey McBride is the dart throw of the week for the Arizona Cardinals there. I'm staying away from that. He's seeing 12% projected ownership. Staying away from that. I know he's a salary relief. I think he's 2,900 or somewhere in that range.
Yep.
It's not the right time to deploy Trey McBride versus that Baltimore Ravens defense. That game could very well be 31-10, something like that. With the Ravens defense looking studly.
It's also a little risky. Officially, 2,800. Just looking him up here, Tuck. It's a risky play. That's another Juwan Jennings dart throw for me.
Yeah. A couple of guys that really interest me. George Kittle at 5,400, I think is way too cheap because whenever I see a backup quarterback, it seems like their security blanket is the tight end, or no? And what better tight end out there to have a security blanket than George Kittle, really?
Yeah.
So that's another interesting target for me. But the guy that I'm going to be playing in a lot of tournament lineups is Dallas Goedert, 6% there. I think that's an interesting pivot off of the Eagles wideouts there.
Yep, love Goedert.
Facing a Commanders defense that ranks 29th against opposing tight ends. Past 3 weeks really have been solid for Goddard. 18, 9, and 28 fantasy points there. So that would be my approach at the tight end position there. Any other standouts for you at tight end?
Honestly, Tuck, I think you nailed them all. A guy that interests me, but not sure I'm there yet, is a little Dalton Schultz for the Houston Texans.
All right, talk to me.
if there's one guy that I think kind of gets going for the Texans offense
Three
and the security
straight
blanket,
double-digit games, by the way.
yeah, when you have a rookie quarterback and things start to get a little tight, I think the tight end is the key player that they look at consistently over the years. No matter who the quarterback is, you look to the middle of the field and your tight end's there. Dalton Schultz, primarily a receiving tight end, and I think he could be in for a nice receptions day, looking in that 10 to 14 point range. I'd feel comfortable.
So
starting him
he
there.
is seeing a ownership projection of 5%.
Okay.
And then a couple interesting guys. Jonnu Smith going against his old team at 1.5% projected ownership.
Interesting.
And not to mention his old coach is coaching him, Arthur Smith with the Falcons. There.
Knows how to use him, Tuck, right? I mean, we saw him locally here with the Patriots, and they did not know how to use him.
Yep.
Seems like Arthur Smith's been using him even more so than Kyle Pitts is going to.
My only hesitation on that is just that game just reeks of like
under
9 to 6.
Yeah, I don't want any part of that.
You know, that's like the lowest total.
And
of the season.
and I actually think it's going to be an under game.
And then a guy who broke out last week at 5,200, Darren Waller, finally broke out last week. He's seeing sub 1% ownership projections here.
Questionable with an injury, Tucker.
Yeah, but that's
tough
been him the
matchup.
whole year.
Yeah, that's true. Tell me, what's I know you mentioned Goddard. What was his projected ownership? Because Goddard's my guy this week.
About 6%.
All right, I'll take that. I think against the Commanders' defense, I'm taking Goddard. I think he's a spotlight tight end this week for me.
All right, so what is your approach to defense this week?
You know what I do, Tuck? When I go to defense, I start at the bottom and I scroll up and I say, when I'm building a lineup, I'm like, who's the first defense that I would take and actually play in a game? And I put them in actually first. So as I'm building my lineup, I'm looking at the salary. And if there's extra salary at the end, I'll go back to the defense and say, do I want to play that defense or do I want to play someone that's a little more expensive that I like a little bit more? So that's how I approach defense always. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. It's worked for me. Because I like to get the maximum out of the players, the position players.
So what is that team for you?
So that team for me this week is actually going to be you could either take the Carolina Panthers, though I did not take them. I did keep scrolling a little bit above. For me, it's the Seahawks at 3,400. I think I really, really like them in the spot. You know, they were my best bet on the podcast for the gambling show. I don't like P.J. Walker or that Cleveland offense. So I'm on Seattle at 3,400, though if you wanted to throw a dart or you needed someone that was cheaper than 3,400, I'm looking at teams like the Jaguars, the Panthers. Those two teams are at Jaguars at 2,800, to be clear. Panthers at 26, though I'd feel better, even though a little bit more pricey. The Jaguars at 2,800 would be kind of my floor, probably defense that I would pick.
So no surprise, really, but that is what the public is favoring.
Yeah.
Seahawks, 13% projected ownership, number one there. Does that change your mind at all?
It depends on the lineup I'm putting in, right? Like if I'm playing in the millionaire contest, I'm not playing Seattle, right? I would, if I'm playing in a 20-person tournament with my friends, I'd lean more to Seattle and just take the shot that there's a couple other people that are going to play Seattle in this. For me.
Number two in terms of cost saving, and obviously the matchup is the game we just mentioned with the Atlanta Falcons at 10%.
Yep.
Facing that Titans offense that will be starting Will Levis.
Mm-hmm.
Has that been reported that he's the starter?
He's starting, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's a great salary saving play. Vikings at 8% is pretty interesting given Jordan Love's struggles, but I don't know if I trust that on the road and Lambeau. You just never.
I think
Lambeau
I like the Packers.
Some magic there.
I think I like the Packers in that game. So
I'm kind of coming around to the Packers there.
I think they're going to win
They've
the
lost
game.
3 in a row.
Yeah,
they're lose 4
they're
in a row
so
at home.
desperate to win.
Yeah.
And Monday night's game, everything coming off, something tells me Green Bay's winning that game.
I kind of want to spend up at defense here.
I'm okay
Eagles
with
at
it.
4,300, 3% projected ownership here.
Yeah. How about the Jets at 4,000?
They just picked up that safety from the Titans, right?
They did. Yep. Kevin.
So they're going to be,
Byard,
jacked up to play a divisional opponent here. And, I know they didn't fare too well against the Commanders in Week 4 where they allowed 31 points, and that went to overtime. But
Yep.
I kind of chalked that up to them being asleep, and I really think the Eagles are going to show up this week and blow doors. I really do.
Two quick questions on defense.
Yep.
Jets 4,000. Tyrod Taylor in, I think, hurts that a little bit. I wanted Daniel Jones. I would have bet the Jets if Daniel Jones played.
Yeah, I think the Jets would have been a top 3 projected ownership defense if Daniel Jones was starting, but I'm staying away with them with Tyrod because he actually looks like he can hold his own there.
Second question. Dolphins 3,800.
No.
You don't trust it.
No, I just don't think. I know they're likely getting back Jalen Ramsey there, but I just.
Davian Howard back.
Yeah, but.
Holland back. I mean, they're getting their second.
I mean, they're a couple 30-plus-year-old cornerbacks.
Sure, but even in New England, 24-17 kept them down. Now you go to Miami where they've struggled for years.
I don't think they have to. I think the Pats are just going to pound the run here and keep it very
not a lot of sacks,
very
picks.
Close to what they did last week.
Okay.
I mean that they're going to keep it short with Demario Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, and they're going to really try and keep it short with Ramondre Stevenson there.
Yeah,
out of the backfield.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just posing the question just because they're playing against top tier they're playing against the worst offenses in football according to DraftKings.
The bottom ranked defense or bottom ownership projections
for defense?
49ers.
Really? Worse than Denver?
Dead last, my friend.
The 49ers?
Dead last.
I'd happily play them.
Why?
Because I'm not so worried. Like, everyone has this recency bias. If you're, I mean, the price tag's a little high. I get that's why that we're looking at this and saying, who's spending $4,100?
Yep.
And I get that. It actually aligns. But I'm not so worried about it. I mean, I'm on the over in this game, so don't go crazy. But the defense will have sacks. They will definitely be better than they were Monday night. I think everyone looks at the recency bias. They're going back home. The defense will have 3 to 4 sacks. Will they get a pick of Joe Burrow? Probably. And will they get a touchdown? No one's predicting a touchdown here, but like at the end of the day,
yeah,
I think there's a shot. The Bengals offensive line is not.
I'll tell
great.
you what, the public is all over the Bengals here,
and that's what I love as a Niners fan.
Yeah,
love
so
that.
it would be a very interesting contrarian play. Like we've seen Joe Burrow struggle in the past. I mean, you're going on the road to play in Levi Stadium against the 49ers, who are going into a bye week.
They're going to win this game. They have to win this game.
Yeah,
they want the 1 seed in this game. They have to win this game.
So the defense might be a sneaky play there at sub 1% there. All right.
Yes.
So let's get to it. Let's build a cash lineup.
Let's do it. Let's do this.
As opposed to a tournament lineup.
We have not preset.
Why don't you go first? No, we're doing this live.
We're doing this live. I thought you were going to go first with quarterback. Do you want to? Are we just picking random players? Just random spots? Is that how we're gonna roll with this?
Give me Sam Darnold.
What if he doesn't play, though? This is like, because the more things I'm reading as the show's gone on, it's like leaning towards Purdy.
All right. We're going to stay. I really like Sam Darnold for cash.
If he plays.
We're not going to choose him for this just because.
There's a good chance he doesn't from what I'm reading.
We don't know. So for cash, I'm going to go with cash. Give me Jalen Hurts, 8,200.
Okay.
I'm going to keep it simple there. There's no questionable tag. He's going to be good to go. He's always 20-plus points a game. I'm just going to play it safe at the quarterback position there.
Can I hop around, or do I have to go running back?
You have to go running back.
Okay.
We're building a lineup.
All right, I'm going ETN. I know Travis Etienne 7,200, and I hate to start this. What's his percentage, Tuck? I don't care.
I think that was 5%.
Okay, then we're going ETN. I know we're going heavy at the beginning, but when you went Hurts, we can't go McCaffrey. So I did that ruled out. And I told you earlier I was going heavy at running back. My lineup involves both McCaffrey and ETN. Well, and I will say this. I think Travis Etienne has I think you have to play McCaffrey for the most part, but Etienne's as close. Can you figure out a lineup that gets Hurts and McCaffrey in? I'm worried about that. That's all.
That's going to be really tough to do.
So that's why I'm going ETN. Let's take the price down. ETN has been as hot as any running back in the league, including McCaffrey, to be totally honest with you, Tuck. And I think it continues here. Pittsburgh really struggles against the run, 25th in the league against the run. He also is catching passes more out of the backfield. I actually think this becomes a closer game because Pittsburgh throw the stats out the window. They play close games. I think the Jags win this game. They were a pick of both of ours, a double like on the show, and we're going to stick to that. I think Travis Etienne has a big game around 20 points for me, so I'm taking him at 7,200. I think he's worth that price.
Now, you know what? We gotta get McCaffrey in our lineup.
I agree. I wanted
All right,
McCaffrey.
I'm gonna edit our quarterback.
All right,
here.
edit the quarterback. You thought I was going to take McCaffrey right away, but I couldn't when you went Hurts. So
Give me Derek Carr. I think that's a sneaky shootout there.
I actually do too.
His
I like
price
this.
tag is $5,500. We just saw the Colts and Browns put up 70 points combined last week. And Carr really, I know he's like always been highly criticized there, but he has back-to-back games of 300 plus passing yards there, over 20 fantasy points. That's an interesting environment to play in a dome for Derek Carr.
Yeah, I like that.
And the fact that the Colts rank 19th against opposing quarterbacks there, I think that's a decent salary saving option there. So with that being said, let's put in Christian McCaffrey at running back.
Love that for you.
So we have Derek Carr, Travis Etienne, Christian McCaffrey there. Wide receiver, go.
Me. All right, buddy. For a receiver, let's target receiver. We're going. Oh, look at this guy. We got a guy knocking on the wall. I think we're going to need to do some cash savings here. Would you agree with this?
Yes.
This is where the dart throw comes in. Should we throw in Juwan Jennings here at 3,800? Because that's going to get us back on track. So I think Juwan Jennings is going to get us around 15
I don't know if that's
points.
the best cash play, but sure.
I think he's going to get us around 15. I think he's going to get us around 15 points Sunday. I really genuinely do. I think he's going to be a big part of this game for the Niners.
All right. Well, I'm going to stick with cost-saving measures here. I'm going to go with Tank Dell, as I mentioned earlier, at 4,900. So let's go expensive here at the next wideout.
All right. If that's the case, Tuck, what do we have for remaining salary? Because I was looking at something else right now. Are you making the lineup as we go?
Yeah, I'm literally making it as we go.
Perfect. What do we got for remaining salary?
Okay, so we have 19.4 remaining, averaging 4.85 per player.
All right, so we can go a little bit more on the receiver for this one. All right, hold on one second. Let me pull up my thing back up here.
Yeah, we got all the time.
My app just crashed.
What app?
So that's great.
DraftKings?
DraftKings just crashed on me as I was poking through. Anyways, I'm back in now. Here's a guy I really like this week. It's a sneakier play. He's not actually super expensive, Tuck, but I like Christian Kirk at 5,900 against the Steelers. Again, the Steelers' defense, they're going to give up yards. They may keep you close on the scoring, but there's going to be guys, and Christian Kirk's been the main guy. Everyone wants to look at Calvin Ridley, but Christian Kirk's been a better receiver fantasy-wise than Ridley. Give me Christian Kirk, 5,900.
All right. Well, I think an interesting GPP, by the way. I know we're setting cash line, but Calvin Ridley, I think he's due. He's really due.
I played both in my league.
This is a vulnerable Steelers secondary there.
Yep.
All right. So seeing that this is a cash lineup, I'm going to keep this simple. Travis Kelce.
Okay. Now we're going Kelce. So we have Kelce, McCaffrey. We get some ETN. We get some guys.
Okay. So we can't do that.
I was going to say, that's heavy.
We can't do that. That's
How are we
heavy.
doing this?
Give me Dallas Goedert.
I was going to say, that's my pick at tight end. I love that pick. He's a great pick. What are we at? Keep me updated on the remaining salary.
We have 8,900 remaining here.
With a
Why don't
defense.
we pick a defense
Pick
first,
the defense
and then
first.
we'll finish it off with flex.
All right, so we're not going to go Seattle because of the projected high ownership. And we can't go to Monday night's game with the Lions, who were 3,100 on DraftKings. My God, I love that. But let me get back into it, Tuck.
We got to go Falcons.
Yeah, I was just going to look at that game.
We have to go Falcons.
The Falcons in Tennessee is going to be such a gross game that I think we have to go that at 2,900.
I know it's the second projected highest ownership.
It doesn't
there.
matter.
But now that leaves us with 6,000 remaining at the flex. So why don't you fill us a flex here? We have we have interesting options here. We have Bijan Robinson. I don't know what your strategy is here, but I usually tend to favor a pass catcher here. In terms of
100%.
Just a wideout. I always like to go wideout at the flex here, but
I'd honestly include Bijan into a pass catching guy. The thing that worries me about Robinson is the low scoring points that are going to be in this game, but also like what the hell happened last week? Was he actually sick? He ran at the end of the game.
Sick, yeah.
Was there some There's something weird about that I kind of want to stay away from. I need to see it, so I'm not sure I want to go Bijan. I'm looking at Breece Hall, and he's got a really attractive price as well.
But do you want to go running back?
I don't want to go running back, so we're going to keep it going down the list. I'd actually double up, and I'll pass it to you. Do we want to go with Ridley, who I also really like? I went Kirk already.
You're doubling up Jaguars.
Sure do. but I also went Lawrence in my personal league, so that's why I went Ridley and Kirk. But I'll tell you this: do you want to go Ridley or Jordan Addison at 5,700? Low projection total, playing out of his mind lately. And
he has
really
16 grabs in his past 3 games, and he has 4 touchdowns in his past 3 games.
I mean, there's no one hotter than Jordan Addison, and with Jair Alexander again questionable for the Packers, I don't even think it matters. I saw Addison was fantastic against the 49ers.
I mean, the layup play here is Zay Flowers.
You could do Zay
I know
Flowers
he's got high
again.
projected ownership.
You
but
could do that again. I'm in on all of these guys. I also like Nico Collins down at 5,500. I don't want to really go down that far, but I like most of these players when we're looking at receiver at this point. Like all of these guys, Tuck, I'll pass it to you. Ridley, Addison, Flowers, your pick.
Just give me Addison.
Okay. Let's go Addison.
Give me Jordan Addison there. I think
All
that's
right.
going to be fine.
So you filled the lineup
All
out.
right.
You want to give
so
a recap?
Just to recap, cash lineup here is Derek Carr at 5,500, Travis Etienne 7,200, Christian McCaffrey 9,200, Tank Dell 4,900, Jawan Jennings 3,800. I think that's a dart throw, but hey, we'll play it.
We're playing it.
Christian Kirk 5,900, Dallas Goedert 4,600, Jordan Addison flex 5,700, rounding it off with the Atlanta Falcons at 2,900. Total remaining salary is $300. So there's your cash lineup for daily fantasy. Before we wrap up the podcast, Matt, you have a couple of college plays you want to give out.
Couple college plays that I absolutely love on Saturday. You'll see them on Instagram, the Prisco 6-pack. These two will be both included on there. We're going to start off, Tuck, with my best bet, the Baylor Bears +3. This line's gotten out of control. They opened up a 1-point
What is
favorite.
it?
Baylor Bears. They're +3
+3,
on
okay.
Saturday.
Yep.
I like them to outright win this game. They opened as 1-point favorites. A lot of money came in on Iowa State.
So you
Baylor's-
on the money line or the points?
I'm taking the points. Let's
Okay.
just to play it safe.
Okay.
Baylor's been a very inconsistent. What the hell was that?
Oh, man.
Jesus.
Hurley.
Jesus. No.
God. Damn it.
Baylor.
Heard the F out of me.
Baylor. That did like shock my ears. Baylor. Let me get my train of thought back.
Baylor +3.
+3.
Def.
Geez, Hurley does not want us giving out college plays on the show. The thing with Baylor is I think they should be favored in this game. They're going back home. Iowa State taking a lot of money early in the week. They've pushed this line to a point where it's just a little bit out of control, above the number that I want. I get to 3, and that's a fantasy number for me. I love that number, getting +3 with a team I think outright wins the game at home. Early start there. Give me the Bears +3. I think they get the job done. Sprinkle a little bit on the money line. My
All right, what's your other one?
second game here is my favorite play of the week. Give me the Cal Bears +10.5. And I'm going to tell you something. They're +10.5, but they're worth a little bit of a sprinkle on the money line. And I know this is crazy, especially if you're coming off, you're just an NFL gambler, but in college, this stuff happens. USC in the market is so overpriced because of Caleb Williams. They're shook. They've lost 2 in a row. I don't know how much that team cares. Their college football playoff is out the window now. So now what are you playing for? You go into an in-state rival against Cal, who's better than expectations. They're a better team running the ball this year. Not better team than USC. Just to be clear, not better team than USC. But chance of an upset. Little sprinkle on the money line with Cal. +10.5. I love it. Best bet. Cal Bears. Let's go.
We got a best bet on a
Best
special edition
bet.
of the Better-in-Laws podcast.
Celtics opening night. I'm taking the Heat +8.5.
Yeah, it's getting busy here out in front of TD Garden. Shockingly,
Taking
I
the
know.
Heat. Got to take the Heat.
Opening night with the
8.5?
Celtics. This is great. This is fantastic.
Tucker, we're Celtics fans. 8.5.
Oh, before we wrap up, all 2 people watching, what is the bet that you placed tonight?
Jaylen Brown, little money line.
This
play
is
on
like
FanDuel.
something you had to go in the depths of DraftKings for.
No,
But
I didn't even
go
play
for it.
DraftKings. I'm playing on FanDuel. I don't
No,
even
no,
know
no,
if
no,
DraftKings
no.
lets you.
The one you texted me about.
Oh, that one.
The special.
DraftKings allowing you to do Jason Tatum plus 100. They lowered the odds to make 2 3-point baskets tonight. So that
See, I didn't have
feels
that, though.
safe. I did,
I had -270 for that.
and they let me do +100. And
So
I don't know
to
why.
make
They're-
2 threes, check your DraftKings. Go
There's
to
a chance.
DK specials and see Jason Tatum to make 2 3-pointers.
You have to add it to your cart, and then all of a sudden this
Yeah.
promo pops up. I play around, I search. I texted a couple buddies. It worked for a couple buddies. Other people are getting limited and I don't know why. They're not heavier gamblers than myself or you, Talk. So I'm not sure why, but it is happening. If you have the ability to do that, do it.
All right. Well, we'll
a
put a bow on this one. This has been the very first live podcast of Bettor In-Laws here, right in front of the TD Garden at the Card Vault Studios, in our Fishbowl Studios. So, yeah, this has been fun.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Thank you to producer Hurley. Good luck, everybody, in your Week 8. Follow us on Twitter at Bettor In-Laws, on Instagram at Bettor In-Laws. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We will see you guys again on this coming Wednesday, where we'll have a fresh podcast for Week 9. But good luck on Week 8 and daily fantasy, betting, everything. We'll see you guys. Bye-bye.
See ya.